Picture a sold-out stadium under a starless sky, every seat filled with anticipation, and a single beam of light focused on a lone figure. A hush falls as the first guitar chord rings out through the rafters with fragility. What began as a triumphant encore transforms into an unforgettable farewell. In that suspended moment, something shifts forever. Fans clutch their hats, eyes glued to the stage, sensing reverence and heartbreak intertwined. But on February 5th, 2024, the world watched in stunned silence as news broke of his passing. Message after message, fans flooded social media with memories of cowboys and red Solo cups, celebrating a life built on songs of heartland pride. Yet behind every anthem lay a private struggle that few glimpsed, a battle fought in hushed infirmaries, where he refused to surrender an ounce of hope or honor until the end. In mid-December, under the bright lights of the Encore Theater in Las Vegas, he delivered what would become his final encore. Adorned in his signature white cowboy hat and denim, he sang with a voice that crackled like wildfire, refusing to yield. Each note carried the weight of memories, first breakout hit, anthems, and ballads. With every chord, he offered a glimpse of the warrior's heart beating beneath the performer's bravado, but behind the roar of the crowd, shadows lingered. Whispers of fatigue circled backstage, where medical scans had revealed an unwelcome tumor unseen. Only his wife and children knew the truth, their nights filled with hushed conversations, gentle reassurances, and promises. He insisted on the stage's sanctuary, to let illness steal his spotlight. To the world, he remained the fearless troubadour, but behind closed doors, he fought for each single breath. Her name is Trisha, the steadfast partner who witnessed highs and lows, whose embrace became his refuge when pain threatened to silence him. Behind hospital doors, she held his hand through chemo infusions and wiped away tears he refused to reveal. Each morning, she whispered affirmations that fortified his spirit, urging him to lace up his boots and step into the spotlight one more time. Her courage carried him past doubt. As rumors swelled about his health, tabloids churned out headlines, exploiting fear and speculation. But Trisha refused to let rumors define their story. She held tightly to truth, granting interviews that offered insight than gossip. In her words, found authenticity, love intertwined with sorrow, determination tempered by vulnerability. Her silence had been deliberate, a shield preserving his dignity. Now, her voice emerged as a profound testament to courage, compassion, and devotion. From this pivotal moment, the narrative shifts to an unveiling so momentous it shattered illusions and reshaped his legacy forever. Cameras clicked as she stepped onto the grand stage of the CMA Theater, bathed in amber light. The audience, a sea of cowboy hats and tear-streaked faces, held its collective breath. Every eye locked on her trembling frame, yearning for the words that would bridge grief and gratitude, memory and hope. When she raised the microphone, silence deepened into reverence. Her first syllable, fragile yet unwavering, carried across the hushed auditorium. She spoke not just of loss, but of a love that transcended final farewells, painting his life in vivid strokes of laughter, loyalty, and the steadfast rhythm of tours. Each anecdote illuminated facets of a man the world thought it knew. Listeners leaned forward, eyes glistening, hearts opening to her truths. She shared how he confronted each setback with the same grit that drove his songwriting. As kidney pain gnawed at his resolve, he still found solace in penning verses beneath hospital fluorescents. When radiation left him drained, he would declare, "This song deserves my full strength," then stand for the final chorus. Every whispered confession of struggle became an anthem of resilience, resonating with anyone who'd ever faced adversity in silence. At the close, she extended a final blessing to those who loved him most, painting his memory with strokes of unyielding optimism. She revealed a trove of unreleased lyrics, behind-the-scenes moments from midnight jam sessions, and a solemn vow that his melodies would continue to lift spirits long after silence fell. As lights ascended, the crowd rose as one, bound together by a renewed faith in music's power to heal always. After her final word echoed through the silent hall, the audience rose as one in a roar that felt like a summer thunderstorm across open plains. Hats tipped, phones lifted to capture her expression, voices blending into an avalanche of applause that shook the rafters. Tears shimmered in every eye, a testament to the bond between performer and fan. In that charged moment, her words transcended mere speech. They became a blessing, an embrace, and a charge to carry on a legacy. For those who had loved his serenades, this public outpouring revealed the depth of emotion his music had sown. It was an invitation to remember, celebrate, and live his values. Meanwhile, Lower Broadway in Nashville transformed into a living tribute. Neon signs flickered over crowds gathered for impromptu jam sessions, guitars ringing out with familiar refrains. A bartender in cowboy boots recounted his grin when she handed him a beer mid-show. A teacher shared how a chorus line had grounded restless students during a storm. In smoky back rooms, fans passed around photographs of his first county fair performance, marveling at how a calloused kid from Oklahoma had become a national icon. Online, tributes poured in from every continent, proving his reach transcended borders. Each anecdote wove an invisible thread that united strangers in shared reverence. Offstage, the quieter corners of his journey unfolded with equal power. In the ranch house on the outskirts of Norman, mornings once began with the aroma of sizzling bacon and the scratch of guitar picks on strings. Late-night jam sessions spilled into dawn, melodies born under starlight and humility. There, he discovered the true meaning of lyrics. They were not just songs, but lifelines flung toward anyone in need. Laughter echoed through rooms now heavy with nostalgia, and every scuffed floorboard bore the weight of dreams too big for a small-town venue. It was a crucible where pain and passion merged into timeless songs. His faith and compassion found its home at OK Kids Choral, where chalets painted in sky blue and sunflower yellow lined winding paths of cedar chips. Families in the throes of treatment found refuge in cottages outfitted with games, soft couches, and kitchens stocked with homemade cornbread. Here, the beep of machines yielded to the strum of a guitar and the laughter of children reclaiming joy. He poured his fortune into cabins built of hope, believing steadfastly that kindness could outshine any hardship. Witnesses describe impromptu performances under oaks, his silhouette framed by dappled sunlight as he sang lullabies to children, forging memories stronger than illness itself. In her speech, Trisha unveiled further treasures, handwritten journals brimming with raw reflections and scratchings of melody. She announced an archive to launch on his birthday, inviting fans to contribute stories of how his songs had shaped their lives. A soldier humming courtesy of the red, white, and blue on distant duty, a single mother finding solace in I Like Girls That Drink Beer. These memories would weave into a digital tapestry, each thread amplifying the resonance of his art. For fans, this was more than tribute. It was a call to action, a chance to become custodians of a narrative that surpassed any stage or festival, binding communities across continents through shared heartbeat of rhythm and rhyme. This collective awakening transformed grief into celebration, turning mournful silences into vibrant choirs of remembrance. Tribute concerts sold out within hours, streaming platforms saw spikes in play counts, and radio hosts dedicated entire segments to callers' tearful testimonies. Suddenly, his catalog became a lifeline for anyone seeking courage and hope. The moment that began with a hushed chord at the Encore Theater had rippled outward, galvanizing a community ready to sustain his legacy. Even now, weeks after her words first fell into that hushed auditorium, the air is thick with purpose, that the song he began will live on eternally in every voice daring enough to sing along. Before the bright lights of Las Vegas and roaring stadium, crowds ever embraced his silhouette, he was a boy with a guitar strapped onto a weathered backroad stage. In those early days, the sweat-stained pine boards and a handful of hopeful spectators were his entire world. He leaned into every strum, believing that heart and honesty would carry him beyond dusty county fairs. And in the hush between each song, he learned that music was an unspoken promise, a promise that strengthened with each chord and beat. He carried those nights in his bones, a quiet fire that guided him through big city stages and sold-out tours. Contrast framed his journey, a solitary camper under Oklahoma stars against his later life, standing ovations beneath blazing spotlights. That tension between humble origins and massive acclaim defined his art. Fans recognized not just the melodies but the man behind them. A man who wrote ballads about everyday struggles and sang them with genuine grit. His story began with a simple invitation. A dance at a county fair where a young cowboy offered lemonade to the girl who would become his lifelong partner. She was poised beneath paper lanterns, her laughter mingling with the hum of carnival rides. He asked for just one dance, and she agreed, setting into motion a chain of moments that would stretch over 4 decades. Those two-stepping nights became the foundation of a partnership marked by shared dreams and silent sacrifices. Their wedding took place in a small Tulsa chapel, where hushed verses blended with the scent of fresh lilies. In a blue suit and crisp white gown, they exchanged vows under stained glass windows, promising to stand together in laughter and loss. The ceremony was simple, but its resonance echoed through years of touring bus corridors, hospital hallways, and living rooms where late-night songwriting sessions unfurled into dawn that eye in those quiet moments at home. The couple welcomed 3 children, each child weaving new colors into their shared tapestry. Early mornings meant pancakes on the griddle and impromptu guitar lessons at the kitchen table. Weekends shimmered with backyard barbecues, where he smoked brisket on a drum smoker he built himself, and she perfected potato salad recipes that became legendary among neighbors. Their children learned that love meant resilience, that home was a sanctuary of melodies and memories. That sanctuary became all the more precious when illness confronted their family's stability. While he stood center stage delivering anthems of blue jeans and open skies, he was also grappling with diagnosis news that arrived without warning. In the warmth of their Norman kitchen, he clutched lab reports and met her steady gaze. Together, they deciphered medical jargon and mapped treatment plans that would stretch across seasons. She packed his bags for doctor visits, traced prayer circles around his bedside, and coaxed him to rest when he insisted on performing. And through each injection, scan, and surgery, their partnership morphed from musical muse and touring companion into salvation and sanctuary. Their shared routine became punctuated by hospital hallways and backstage corridors, where he refused to let uncertainty dim his resolve. After one draining session of chemo, he returned to the stage wearing a baseball cap instead of his trademark hat, small rebellion that thrilled fans who knew the stakes were higher than any encore. Each time he strummed the opening of Should Have Been a Cowboy, with trembling fingers, he defied doubt, conjuring strength from memory of his childhood lulling chords. Through every upturned lyric, he whispered, "I'm still here," and the audience believed him. Even before his diagnosis surfaced publicly, they had already sown seeds of transformation. Back in 2013, they envisioned a refuge for families battling childhood illness, an oasis of normalcy amid sterile corridors. They acquired land near Oklahoma City Children's Hospital and built OK Kids Choral, a place where each cabin felt like home. Bright murals of prairies, bunk beds stacked with soft blankets, and communal kitchens overflowed with casseroles and cornbread. Volunteers became extended family. Musicians held impromptu sing-alongs, and the laughter of children stitched joy into every corner. That sanctuary and their shared vision became his most cherished legacy, a testament to their enduring love and unwavering hope. And that hope lives on. Even as the hush of loss settled over every county and concert venue, the mission they launched flourished in his absence. In the weeks after his passing, OK Kids Choral saw an outpouring of support unlike anything before. Foundations and artists rallied together, donating instruments, art supplies, and scholarship funds. Volunteers painted new murals of cowboy boots and songbirds, transforming the campus into a vibrant tapestry of hope. They broke ground on an expanded cottage wing, its blueprint capturing everything he believed in: community, compassion, and the enduring power of song. Meanwhile, across the region, communities adopted Toby Nights in his honor. Small-town bars hosted benefit performances where local musicians strummed his hits, channeling his spirit into every riff. Saloon doors swung open to rolling piñatas filled with guitar picks, and bartenders served Red Solo Cup, cocktails garnished with crimson straws. Proceeds poured into the choral's new expansion fund, ensuring more families could find refuge when illness struck. Each clink of glass, Each chorus sung under neon saloon signs echoed his conviction that music could mend broken spirits and build bridges between strangers. That I in Oklahoma City. The private farewell at St. John's Episcopal Church recalled an intimate celebration of life rather than a somber duty. Tall oak pews stood beneath stained glass windows, filtering morning light into kaleidoscopes of color. White lilies and sunflowers adorned every corner, flowers he had requested, symbolizing purity and warmth. Faith Hill's voice quivered through an acoustic rendition of American Soldier, while childhood friends shared stories of backyard jams and county fair dreams. Each anecdote reflected a man who never forgot where he came from, who carried his roots into every stadium he sold out. When the procession moved to Rose Hill Cemetery, the soft Oklahoma breeze carried strains of a lone fiddler playing Amazing Grace. His 3 children each placed a single rose on the casket, their petals a delicate contrast against dark earth. Trisha, in an ivory dress trimmed with lace, laid her rose last, pressing her lips to the polished wood before stepping back. Witnesses said she whispered, "Rest now," her voice both tender and resolute. In that moment of stillness, every mourner felt the weight of her words, as though they were a benediction passed from his heart to theirs. Yet the public memorial that followed in Nashville transformed grief into a communal celebration. The CMA Theater stage stood bare except for a lone stool, guitar stand, and lit lantern, symbols of a life lived under spotlights and behind the scenes. Photos of early days and stadium tours lined the walls, weaving a visual tapestry of dedication. Brooks and Dunn opened with "Should Have Been a Cowboy," their voices lifting into rafters that had hosted legends for decades. One by one, artists poured raw emotion into each tribute set. Lainey Wilson's fierce take on "Red Solo Cup," Carrie Underwood's crystalline ode to perseverance, and Sammy Hagar's rock-tinged roar of "American Ride." Outside, a candlelight vigil under neon Broadway signs united fans in a circle of light, each flickering flame a testament to a shared bond. Strangers joined hands, voices trembling as they sang choruses that had been the soundtrack of their lives. On sidewalks, impromptu serenades broke out, guitars borrowed between honky-tonk doorways, turning bustling streets into stages of remembrance. The air thrummed with resolve. They would carry his songs forward, ensuring every lyric remained a living echo rather than a fading note. Back home, the choral's new wing rose from the ground like a promise kept. Volunteers laid cedar beams while medical staff organized wellness workshops for families staying overnight. Children painted their handprints on walls, immortalizing their mark on a place that had cradled them through fear and pain. His guitar, displayed in a sunlit atrium, bore a plaque inscribed with his final wish, that every child there would know music's gift as he had. It stood as both memorial and inspiration, a beacon for those who would follow his path of service. Radio stations across 5 states dedicated full days to his catalog, inviting listeners to call in with stories of how his songs had shaped pivotal moments. First days of school, long-haul drives, backyard barbecues. DJs recounted chart milestones and behind-the-scenes studio tales, weaving a narrative that extended beyond headlines. Online, a hashtag campaign, #SongsThatHeal, surfaced thousands of posts detailing personal transformations sparked by his music. From soldiers on distant bases to teachers in city schools, people shared how a single verse had anchored them as dust settled on concert dirt and solemn farewells. A palpable energy pulsed through every tribute event, a promise that his legacy would chart a course far beyond ticket sales or gold records. It would live wherever guitars strummed hopeful chords, wherever children laughed in healing havens, wherever communities gathered under open skies. The momentum built like a crescendo toward the next chapter, a final, crowning honor that would etch his name permanently into the annals of country music history. The announcement of his induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame arrived on a crisp February morning, sending waves of excitement laced with bittersweet longing. Committee insiders buzzed with awe, fans wept tears of vindication. The news email listed Reba McEntire, Randy Travis, Mary Chapin Carpenter, and the Oak Ridge Boys alongside his name, giants in a pantheon built on tradition and innovation. Yet the realization stung. he would never step across that hallowed threshold himself. This paradox of honor and absence transformed excitement into urgency. It must be a ceremony that captures his spirit in every note. Then the CMA issued an official press release praising his relentless work ethic, chart-topping hits, and philanthropic passion. Headlines splashed phrases like "legacy cemented" and "legendary journey recognized." But beneath triumphant tone lay an ache for a living legend's presence. Fans scrambled to secure tickets, booking flights to Nashville with cowboy hats in hand and rehearsing lyrics under their breath. The frenzy revealed not only his popularity, but also the emotional investment fans had poured into him over decades. He wasn't just an entertainer. He was a companion through life's storms and celebrations. Backstage at the CMA Theater that October night, anticipation crackled like electricity. Red carpets rolled out beneath marquee lights. Photographers snapped every step, and velvet ropes parted to reveal country music's elite. Trisha arrived in denim and diamonds, her attire a reflection of her husband's unpretentious style blended with enduring glamour. Beside her, Shelley, Crystal, and Stellan carried the weight of family pride and poignant sorrow. Their synchronized breaths whispered shared remembrance. This would be the night his name would take its rightful place in history. Inside the theater, portraits of his life journey lined the walls. A young man leaning on his first guitar, a stadium adrift in floodlights, a final backstage embrace with family. These images formed a gallery of resilience, inviting attendees to journey through his rise, battles, and unwavering compassion. When the lights dimmed, cameras capturing every audible gasp, the evening opened with a documentary recap, featuring interviews and home footage stitched together with his voice narrating childhood dreams and hopes. Little Big Town stepped up for the first performance, launching into a gospel-tinged "I Want to Talk About Me" that morphed into a soulful riff. Their harmonies swelled, building to a crescendo that echoed applause long before they finished singing. Next, an acoustic montage by Eric Church and Miranda Lambert wove tender renditions of "Get Drunk" and "Be Somebody," reminding everyone of his playful duality, rowdy fun paired with earnest sincerity. Moments like this offered contrast, framing his multifaceted career, affirming that every facet of his persona, from jokester to philanthropist, deserved its time in the spotlight. When Trisha's name was announced as his proxy inductee, the tornado of flashbulbs quieted into a hush. She walked onto the stage with measured grace, her gaze traveling across the audience until it rested on an empty stool with his signature cowboy hat perched atop the mic stand. For a heartbeat, silence filled every crevice of the theater. Then she began her speech, her voice at first fragile but growing in strength. She spoke of a childhood meeting at a county fair, of unwavering belief in his dreams, of nights spent sharing cornbread and chord progressions in a humble farmhouse kitchen. Each word painted intimacy and authenticity. She transitioned from anecdotes about love and laughter into reflections on his decade-spanning chart dominance. She recounted late-night songwriting sessions interrupted by hospital alarms, describing how he chased melodies during infusions, using lyrics as a lifeline. She paused to wipe away a tear, then lifted her chin to praise how he funneled success into OK Kids Choral, building sanctuaries for families ravaged by pediatric illness. Her transitions, seamless and natural, guided viewers from romance to career triumphs and finally to a vision for the future, an enduring foundation built on compassion. Before she concluded, she unveiled a surprise, a posthumous album containing unfinished demos and reflections recorded on his phone in early mornings. As details of track titles and collaborators emerged, Willie Nelson strumming alongside his weathered voice, a duet with Dolly Parton completed in spirit, gasps filled the audience. This reveal crystallized her role as guardian of his creative legacy. It promised fans new opportunities to connect with his artistry, ensuring that his voice would continue to resonate long after the final chord faded. Then she uttered the words everyone had waited to hear. "I accept this honor on behalf of the man who taught me that love and music are one." Lighthouse beams of stage lighting bathed her in warm gold as applause broke like the surf against rocks. Cameras swung wide, capturing standing ovations that rippled across the theater. Artists and fans united in tribute, voices raised in a collective benediction. In that moment, absence and presence melded. He was gone, yet undeniably there in every note, every memory, every promise of songs yet to be heard. After the applause subsided, a hush settled once more over the CMA theater as the audience leaned forward in anticipation. Each soul there carried stories of songs that had woven through their lives, lifting spirits in hardship and amplifying joy in celebration. In that moment, nobody spoke, for words would have fallen short of the emotion crackling in the air. Then, she stepped into the spotlight again, clutching a single photograph, a candid snapshot of him grinning under a summer sun, guitar in hand. The frame glowed in the stage lights, honoring a man whose life had become the soundtrack for millions. With a steady breath, she raised her voice one last time, migrating seamlessly from public honors to private devotion. Her words painted final scenes that none had witnessed. Backstage laughter as he teased the crew about missing lyrics. Quiet moments on tour buses where he scribbled melodies beside open windows. An evening beneath Oklahoma stars when he surprised her with a hand-carved sign declaring, "Our love is my favorite song." These vignettes stirred a collective yearning, transporting listeners from red carpet glamour back to rustic simplicity. They reminded everyone that celebrity was merely a stage upon which a husband, father, and friend pursued purpose beyond applause. She spoke of his final morning with clarity that contrasted the sorrow in her voice. As dawn broke over Norman, sunlight filtered through curtains onto a guitar, still strung and warm. He had risen early, humming fragments of a new chorus before resting his head against her shoulder. They shared coffee in quiet gratitude and laughter as he recalled a lyric that eluded him in the night. That melody would remain unfinished, a testament to imagination arrested, but also an invitation to those who would carry his creativity forward. In those fragile minutes, she assured the world that his spirit had not dwindled but simply transformed, inhabiting every note he ever sang. The finale of her speech offered a promise that stretched beyond a date on a calendar, a continued stewardship of his dreams. She announced the creation of the Toby Keith Promise, a scholarship for aspiring singer-songwriters who dedicate their talents to charitable causes. Each recipient would receive mentorship, studio time, and a commitment to give back, embodying the same blend of artistry and altruism he championed. Industry leaders nodded in approval, sensing the enduring impact this legacy initiative would spawn. For fans, this commitment answered lingering questions. How does one honor a life spent giving? By giving more. And then she concluded with an invitation softened by tears yet anchored in hope. Carry his songs into the corners of your world, she implored. Sing them on porches and open roads. Teach them to children and strangers alike. In every voice that rises with his melodies, he lives. The auditorium responded with a standing ovation that felt like an ocean crashing against shore, waves of admiration cresting toward her in gratitude. As the lights brightened, the audience lingered, reluctant to let the moment slip into memory. Even after cameras panned away and twilight beckoned them from Nashville's neon glow, people filed out in pairs and clusters, humming refrains under their breath. Their footsteps echoed down hallways and onto Broadway, where strangers greeted one another as comrades in a shared journey. In taverns and hotel lobbies, creaky pianos awaited coaxing hands to bring forth chords that had bound them together that night. Later that evening, in the quiet of their home, she placed the photograph back on his piano, now silent yet brimming with echoes. She stood for a moment in silence, fingers lightly tracing the wood grain where his palm had once rested. Then, with the soft resolve that had carried her through every stage of this journey, she sat at the keys, playing the first few notes of that unfinished melody. Rooms filled with the gentle resonance of hope, carrying into bedrooms where dreams were born. For it was here, away from cameras and spotlight dazzle, that his voice truly lived on. And across the world, windows lit by lamp and smartphone glowed in unison as fans streamed the induction ceremony replay, pausing to capture her words, to share them with hands and hearts tethered to his music. On social platforms, #CarryHisSongs trended as thousands pledged to honor his memory with acts of kindness, a testament to love measured in deeds. The final chord had sounded on stage, but the true symphony was just beginning. Now the legacy stands before us, not sealed in marble, but breathing in every chorus open to a new singer. In every cabin at the choral where laughter replaces tears, and in every scholarship note penned for a hopeful voice. The story began with a single chord and ended here with a promise that in unity, compassion, and melody, his spirit endures. And so we keep singing,